Hello.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to
Let's Get Taboo. No, fucking kill me.
That's fine.
Oh, we thought we were going to say it at the same time.
Oh, were we?
Should we do that?
No. We go back, like way back, 21 years back. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Kelly, and we have been friends long enough to know that that kind of connection is rare.
We've recognized a pattern that we can come together feeling overwhelmed and jaded by life, but can walk away from our conversations feeling elevated and fulfilled. Our goal is to have our listeners share in that experience with each episode.
This podcast is our love letter to each other. It has been years in the making, and finally the stars have aligned, and we like to open up our conversations to you. We intend to build a community where no topic is off the table.
In a world where discomfort is actively avoided, therapy is not accessible to many, yet you should talk to a therapist, is a reflex response that denies connection. We have found that talking it out has been a form of free therapy in itself.
We dive into topics like death, divorce, disordered eating, debt, and every taboo topic in between, all while balancing the scales with our tongue-in-cheek humor.
With that, who's ready to get taboo?
I'm gonna cry. Okay, one more time. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm being so weird. Okay. I think I need to have more caffeine. Okay, go.
No more caffeine.
Dude, I need it.
Okay, hello, hi. Welcome
guys.
to Let's Get Taboo. I'm Chloe.
I'm Kelly. We thought we would start today just kind of introducing ourselves and our story as friends. That's kind of what the foundation of this podcast is built around, and thought it'd be fun to kind of share how we grew up, how we met, how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, I think it's important to just give like a little bit of a background or a little bit of a backstory of like where we came from.
Yes.
Because I think it helps inform what we're talking about and what the purpose of this project is, or this podcast is, you know?
And we have a cute ass story.
I know, I love it. It's such a cute meet.
It's just really cute.
We're
It's
so
very like
cute.
Disney.
Yeah,
Except
but like
we're not Disney.
We're not. It's like you know what it is? It's like the original fairy tales, like the Grimm brothers ones, like where they're still dark. Like I will
There's, like,
never forget.
twistiness to it.
Dude, I will never forget so when I was little, Baka, my grandma Baka, we're Croatian, so we call her Baka.
We love her.
We had this like book of Croatian stories, fairy tales.
There it is.
Anyways,
We got there.
It was like all the Croatian version, but I think it was the Grimm brothers version, right?
Oh, those are dark.
So the original story of Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes. I know it.
No, I don't know if you know the dark part. So the original story was when they kill the wolf at the end.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Got
like
it.
normal, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, but they like sewed his belly full of rocks and threw him in the bottom of the well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how you're going to tie this into us right
So
now.
I feel like we're that version of Disney.
Yo, you know I'm here for that. I obviously would much prefer a darker version. I'm just, wow. It's
On that note,
let's just get this started. Anyway, I'm sure people are now scared to hear this story.
Yeah.
Who knows what they expect? It's not that dark.
anyways.
Anyway, all right. I guess we'll just start with when we met. We've been friends now. Last year was our 20-year anniversary. We met in May of 2003. I had recently moved to the same neighborhood that Chloe lived in. We lived in Southeast Portland, 2 doors down from one another.
Mm-hmm. And I think that really kind of that missing piece, or like that part that differentiates it, or I'm not able to find like the right way to articulate it. But it is that we had such transformative years like leading up to our meet.
Completely.
Right? So we had both gone through like the hardest years of our lives up until that point. I mean, granted, like we were 7 at that time, so not a lot of life lived, but that just also kind of like exaggerates how big it felt to us.
Yeah.
And like we just had very massive shifts. And like I had lost a step parent, you gained a new step parent. We both had new siblings.
Yeah.
We both moved to new neighborhoods.
Yep, completely.
We both started in new schools.
Yeah.
So like there's just all this like, you know, like kind of uprooting of
Uprooting
things,
of traditional,
like tilling the soil, basically.
Yeah,
is kind
totally.
of what it feels like.
Well, and I think it's really cool because, I mean, all these years we've been friends and we obviously know the story inside and out. And I just put this together. But like, I think it's so dope that doing this project and kind of going over our story, that's what we realized was our like link. That was what really was this like bond. And it's not a trauma bond. It's just we both had this understanding of where we were at in each other's lives, you know?
Yeah.
Because it led to, I don't want to make it sound like we were isolated. It was just so much change. And I think that at that time we met at a perfect time to be each other's common ground.
Yeah.
And like that grounding factor when there was so much going on that felt like not unstable, just so new.
Yeah, a lot of newness. And I think that's just hard as a kid anyway.
Oh, so hard.
You know?
Absolutely.
Because I think
you don't have the coping skills. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the more I've learned, you know, as we've gotten older, like the more I've learned about just like childhood and parenting and all that kind of stuff is like how important like structure and routine is.
Absolutely.
So when those like foundational pieces are stripped or changed for a kid, that is
earth shattering.
Yeah.
Because you would, like, to your point, you just said, you know, we, you don't have a lot of lived experience. So even changes that they aren't negative in any way, they're just life. They happen, but it really, really unearths everything you've ever known.
Yeah.
And it's so overwhelming. And I think, you know, dealing with all of that, you and I could kind of find each other and connect and be like, oh my gosh, you've been through this. Well, I'm going through this. You're a new big, like you had siblings, but like there's a new baby in your house. There's a new baby in my house. Like it was.
And they were the same age too, basically.
Yes.
And I think also it was because of the time of year that it was, like you had moved in 2 weeks before school was getting out.
I know.
Which is ridiculous. A weird fucking time to move.
Listen.
I will have to ask Steph about that.
I know,
that is so funny to me.
Yeah.
But also now I think about it, it's like if we needed to move and now was the time and I had like a kid that was in kindergarten or first grade or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, we're moving now. Who cares?
Just like fun little side note too, I was in McMinnville, Oregon this last weekend on like a little staycation with a friend. And I used to live in McMinnville and it was where I lived before I moved to our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we had lived in 2 different locations. And so I was in town and the first house we lived in was really close. And I was like, Mom, what's the address? I'm going to drive by and see it.
Yeah.
She wasn't cute. She wasn't in a good neighborhood.
I'm not the impression you remember the address.
Oh, dude, she can Zillow anything.
That's so funny.
Bitch is crazy with the investigative skills. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But she was like, get out of that neighborhood. What are you doing? And she told me, she was like, that was the reason I insisted on moving to the other house we lived in. And the only reason we moved out of that house was because like, so we moved from the junkie house to the beautiful farmhouse. Okay. And then after farmhouse was Portland when we became neighbors. But we moved out of that house not by choice. Like Chris wanted to move to Portland, my stepdad, because he had a huge commute. McMinnville to Portland's an hour.
Yeah, that's
but
too
also
much.
It was that they had sold the house out from underneath us and we were renters. So they were like, we sold the house. People are moving in. You got to get out. So we were kind of like on crunch time. We had to find out. So that's why it wasn't that Mom was just like, 2 weeks at a new school. Fuck it. It was, we literally had to. But
wow.
Anyway, yeah,
but that just adds to it. Like, it's just kind of those like outside forces that are just upending what
together.
You know.
No, it meant to be together.
It brought us together.
Literally
so
forced
cute.
us together. So cute.
I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was right before like summer break was starting. And so we connected instantly.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think it helped that our neighborhood was very like kid focused. There was a lot of kids around our age and we were all playing outside.
Yeah. There was a whole street of us.
Yeah. And we were all like rolling around on our razor scooters, breaking ankles.
Y2K kids, you know?
Yeah.
It was the times.
But I think that was so like such a big part of us connecting was because then we got so much FaceTime.
Absolutely.
Because we were playing every day.
That was the time in my childhood where I truly think I had the most permission to or felt like I could just be a kid.
Yeah, just play.
We just played.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was all we did was true, honest playing.
And talking. So, I mean, we sat under our neighbor's tree. It wasn't either one of our trees. It was like the house that was between us. And we just sat under that neighbor's tree and just talked.
Yeah.
Every afternoon, that was kind of like our ritual, our routine for a few years, which was really sweet.
Killed their grass in their yard. There was like a big circle where our asses were because we would just sit
grass.
and talk
in the same spot.
Same spot.
Ruin the neighbor's
and
lawn.
we were meant to start a podcast. We were podcasters before it even was a thing.
At like
you know?
7, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
No, and I also love that the Saturn energy there. Like I'm a huge astrology nerd. At like 7, 8 years old, around that time, you have your first hard Saturn transit.
Yeah.
So it makes like the first square. So it makes like a challenging aspect to the Saturn that you were born with, the placement that you were born with. And so I love that we met on a hard Saturn year.
Yeah.
And we're starting this podcast at 21 years of friendship, which is another Saturn. It's our last Saturn square. So we met at that first Saturn square.
Yeah.
And then our relationship is having its last Saturn square, and it's our personal Saturn return. Yeah. This is like a lot of like kind of like garble, like I don't know, kind of like,
hey, don't downgrade yourself like that.
No, but I mean like kind of like confusing language maybe for someone who isn't super fluent in astrology.
But I think it's important to note that astrology is a huge part of our friendship. We love astrology. We speak I am nowhere near her level, but I will do my best to like, I think just asking each other questions and explaining it though, it is a very important part of who we are and our friendship. We love astrology, and it's such a fun way to kind of recognize the patterns, like just even between us.
Yes.
But like with our family, with our relationships, it's a key factor in it.
And just life moments.
It's so
I think
important.
that has been,
It's been so fun.
it's been a really important way for me and you to be able to process.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
And make sense of things.
Yeah.
When things got hard.
So, okay. So from childhood, you moved away after a few years.
Yep.
And that's kind of where like we started kind of having to navigate long distance. I mean, cause when you're kids, when you're in grade school, middle school, moving to a different part of town feels like long distance.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we weren't in the era of cell phones yet.
No.
I mean, we were just getting there, but I didn't have a phone when I moved in fourth grade.
Yeah. We talked on the phone all the time. So that's where
Landline.
like all of our phone conversation started was when you moved over.
When I had to move.
Southwest.
And it was like lucky to see each other, and we really made it work. And it was just, again, really like beautiful timing because we had the landline, and then that got us through into our teen years, and then we had MySpace.
Yeah.
We had social media.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I still get like Facebook notifications that are like 16 years ago, you and Chloe like posted on each other's walls, and I'm like, oi, oh my God.
With the like backwards smileys and the
there was literally one that was so cute the other day. It was like you were counting down the days on my wall until we could see each other.
Wait, that's so cute.
I was fucking dying at it. Oh my God. Yeah. But distance, I think, has been something that unfortunately, but also for the like just how things have had to be, it's been a huge part of our relationship. We have been in a long distance relationship longer than we've not.
Yeah.
We've always been, so we've really had to navigate it for so long and done it really well.
I think so.
I'm pretty proud of it.
I think what we have is the ability to talk.
And carry on a conversation. Oh my God.
Like just keep talking.
Yeah.
The amount of times I just totally interrupted you, but I was going to say the amount of times that my dad has been like, when we're sitting in the dining room or something and he's like trying to watch football, which I'm sorry, you don't need to hear.
You don't need to hear.
I love you, Dad, but you don't need to hear.
Yeah, no.
And he's like, can you guys keep it down? Do you guys ever stop talking? The answer is no.
Your dad, I think the only thing he does besides hugging, kissing me when I first see him is being like, oh, you're going to talk to Chloe some more? That's all.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is correct, sir. That is all we're going to do. But I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It might come back.
It
also
might
might
back.
not.
Oh, no. What I was going to say is, so for my staycation with my other girlfriend, I played her like some rough drafts of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And she was so complimentary, but like so blown away. She was like, okay, so you both are the same and that, God, you can carry on a conversation. She just kept watching and she was like, how the hell do you guys do this? You just can keep going and like going off of each other. And it's been something the most consistent part of you and I.
Yeah.
Is this ability to just like, I have so many words for you.
Well, fast forward to the pandemic.
Oh, Lord.
The pandemic phone calls.
Iconic.
A very important chapter in our book.
I miss it.
We spent upwards of 6-7 hours on the phone at a time.
I have the receipts.
Like weekly. Not every day,
No.
but like, I mean, we talked a few times a
every
week.
day. Yeah.
At minimum a few times a week, but at like most probably like every day.
Every day we definitely texted.
Connected.
In some way or another. But those phone calls were weekly, dude.
It was nuts. Like I remember like your partner at the time was like, you just put in a work day on the phone.
Yep.
And we're like, yes, that's true.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, wasn't that what all people do?
Yeah,
but
like,
no, I mean, at the time she was living in Arizona and I mean, the world was shutting down and her and I were like, for some reason, finding a way to thrive and talk to each other. Like our friendship exploded when everyone was like, oh my God.
It was so good.
Dark and twisted. We are those like grim fairy
Dark and
tales.
twisty.
Yeah. Pandemic. And we're like, let's go.
Yeah, but it was so good.
It was so fun.
It was so good. But yeah, and then I mean, we had some seriously tough. Like I had a good time in 2020, relatively speaking. You had a tougher time, but then I also think like in those years following 21, 22, even a little bit into 23, was so hard and transformative for both of us.
Yeah.
And I think having this connection, having those phone calls, I mean, during that time, we were on the phone. We had our commute calls. So after we moved from pandemic calls to, okay, now the world's back on.
Yeah.
Now we
have to have jobs again.
We have jobs again.
Right.
Well, I was finishing school.
Yeah.
And so she would call me on her hour-long commute home from work. And it didn't always stop when you got home.
Sometimes it lingered an hour, maybe just an hour and a half. I'd miss dinner. You know, it's fine. It's worth it.
And I would walk the canal.
Yeah.
Walk my little doggy and just walk the canal. And we would have like phone therapy.
Yeah, correct.
For an hour or 2 hours.
Correct.
Almost every day.
Every day. Yeah. I mean,
it was truly almost every day at that time.
Yeah.
We were both so down bad.
So down bad. And it's like looking back at that time and being out of it, you can be, I'm just thankful. I am thankful for it. Right. I think it forced so much growth. I wish it would have been done in the more chill way, but I personally,
nothing about us is chill.
Nothing about us is chill.
Yeah.
We are the most chalant people in a world of nonchalant people.
Yeah.
But I just feel, I don't know that I could be where I am and be this person who is like as excited or feeling as prepared or grounded enough to do a creative project with you if I hadn't have gone through those, like, the last 5 years. They've been so critical for growth and brain development and like perspective. Yeah,
I totally agree, actually, because I think with our conversations, I've been able to process so much of my inner shit.
Yeah.
Like stuff that I haven't been able to talk about ever.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like to be able to just have this place that is like safe, that's relatable, where there's really no judgment.
No judgment.
At all.
And nothing that like stops us in our tracks.
Yeah.
There's
We're
nothing.
Just like, okay, and next.
And like nothing you could say. And I think I needed that so bad. I really freeze up when I feel judged. And there was a barrier broken in the last 5 years where, not that we didn't share shit with each other then, but it just felt like we both were at this point of being so down bad, we needed to just be like, fuck it, and just talk about it with someone.
Yeah,
you know, like,
because it gets it out. Like so it's not just like living in your guts. And I mean, that's that concept that Brene Brown talks about a lot, where it's the idea of like shame can't live in the dark, or no, shame can't live in the light.
Yeah.
So like if you speak to it, you take the power away.
Yeah.
And I think that's so much of what we've done for each other.
Well, and I think that what's beautiful and full circle about that is I feel like when we've talked and discussed so many hours about this podcast and building this baby, is that that's kind of what we want to do now with the podcast. We've spent so many years doing it together on the phone and in person that now we're ready to take it to like, bringing that shame into the light for, you know, whoever wants to listen, whoever's interested. It's, you know, let's get taboo, but it's really just like getting rid of the shame, talking about the things that people carry shame around.
Yeah, that are like hard things to talk about that aren't always like, you aren't always taught to have those conversations. It's like I don't think we were taught to have that.
No.
We just kind of accidentally found it because we both had this really deep need to be able to get it out and connect in that way, in a really intimate and intense way.
Yeah.
I think we're both really intense people. So I think being able to connect in that way is so integral to who we are.
100%.
And I don't think we got that in like our family systems.
I don't think a lot of people
No, and I don't think most people. Yeah.
And I think it is something to where, of course.
And it's not shame to our family systems. It's just
not
like
at all.
They were taught.
How do you teach it though? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it is something that we have to, I think having difficult conversations and trusting that the people that love you unconditionally are going to be there for you and see you through it. You have to break that seal and start doing it. So in my head, it's like doing this podcast can be so groundbreaking or beneficial, at least I hope, for people in some way, because, you know, it's just about working out that muscle of saying the hard things and talking about things that are muscle. It is a muscle. You know, you just got to keep doing it and doing it. And I don't think if we hadn't had those phone conversations, or we hadn't had, you know, all those years of practicing distance and just being able to say whatever to each other, I don't even think I would be the same person.
No.
I wouldn't be who I at all. You know, and I like who I am, and I attribute it so much to how much work we put in. And I wish we would have had tools back then.
I know.
A podcast.
It's really interesting. I think about like, because sometimes I'll spiral on like, wow, what kind of like human could I have been had I had these tools earlier?
My
on
daily
the flip
spiral.
side, right? But on the flip side, it's like I still wouldn't trade it.
Never.
I still wouldn't trade it.
Never. Any of the shit.
Yeah.
Right? Any of the shit. I'm in this era of being, I think that's what healing is, right? But it's like, I think that's what it means to heal. But it's just being so grateful for all, like, this point that it's brought us to.
Yeah.
And us having the clarity and the trust in one another and just our minds to be able to now take it to like the public.
Well, yeah. And also like
exciting.
being in, exactly, it really is. And being like too, to kind of reflect on those, like on the hard things or as they come up, it's like having a new empathy for the other people involved that you've maybe like allowed to hurt you or whatever it is, because like we're all just wounded little babies.
No, we are.
And just walking around like with these exposed like nerves.
We're exposed nerves. Yeah.
And then like reactive and like hurting other people because we feel hurt, and
we're continuing that cycle.
We are. And it's just like, it's
hard.
kind of like this like game of like pinball, but there's like a bunch of balls and all the balls are spicy.
Stop saying spot. You just said spicy balls. You just said spicy balls on our podcast.
And there it is.
And I was waiting for that moment. No, I hear you though.
Do you get what I mean though?
No, I do get what you mean. I
think spicy balls are necessary to like, that's a necessary analogy.
I don't think I would have described it in any other way. I really, really am so thankful I was able to be here for that moment. I needed it. Spicy balls. And you know, that's not to get on a soapbox, but I do think it's really cool even talking through it, how we have kind of been on this journey together every step of the way. And we have said, you know, when we were having our phone chats, our phone conversations, we would talk about how it's like, oh my God, it's so weird how we're going through the same thing, but a slightly different color. Like I would go through something, then she would go through something.
The themes were
terrifying though.
It was crazy.
Yeah, like it was eerie. You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt, but I think a bigger theme in
emo
that
times.
Mad emo. Well, I live in emo beautifully. That is where I'm meant to be. But I just think it's, you know, when you have that, it's so exciting to realize that with like someone you love. And I think the bigger theme and bigger picture here is that more than likely it's not just us going through similar thing. As much as I'd like to think that, I think it would be really, I would love that.
Poetic.
Oh my God. I love it. But I think
it's giving Notebook.
And it's giving like, I just really want to be like the center of like some epic novel.
It's giving Leo Rising.
But yeah, I think it would be really cool to like share our experiences or our thoughts about things that, you know, maybe people do feel like they don't have someone to talk about these things with. And just be like, hey, guess what? We are hot messes. And we also are going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
And like offering a perspective of like, you know, this is a normal thing.
Yeah. It's like to normalize some of the stuff that feels like so isolating, or that feels like,
I like that word.
You're really ostracized. Like there's no one else in your circle going through this thing, but hey, we went through this, or we're going through this, or we know someone who has.
Or we're here with you.
We're here with you and we want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And what was so healing is I didn't have anyone else in these years to talk about this stuff with.
100%.
And if I hadn't had that, I don't know that I would be here in the same form.
Same.
You know?
Yeah.
And so to be able to talk about that publicly for people who need that outlet, that need that connection.
Yeah.
Let this be that.
Yeah. And it's not here. Like, I think it's just so important to me that it's not like, for me, it's not about like giving advice. Lord knows I hate giving advice, and I hate when people give me advice unless I freaking ask for it. Yeah. But, which is never.
But also, when you're asking for advice, you already know the answer. Like, outsourcing for advice is actually, it's so when it's done me so dirty.
Same, dude, because you know what it is? When I'm asking for advice, what I'm actually asking for is for you to validate the decision I've already made.
Yeah.
I've already made it. I know what I'm going to do. And that's why, like, if you're an advice giver, I recommend just not, like, people know what they want. Just listen to them and support them. And if they ask you specifically, probably just validate them anyway. But anyway, I like with this project, it's more, I'm not here to give advice or be PC. It's just, I'm here to share, like, or be like, yo, can we talk about what the fuck ever is going on in the world that's just hard, that our parents couldn't teach us, or that you have to actually just live through yourself to get on the other side of it.
Yeah. And that, I think so much of it is, it's like the discomfort of just going right through it.
Oh my God, I want someone to write a novel about that moment. It's such a specific moment that is so real. It's that pause of genuine discomfort right before you just face it head on.
Yep. And yes, and like doing everything you can to try to resist it, and then avoid, and knowing that whole time you're just actually making it worse because you're putting it off.
Yeah, and then what I would do personally is then I would call you and I'd be like, here's what's going on, and you would be like, so fucking do something about it, and that, but like in such a, like, not harsh but straightforward way of just telling me what I already knew, but I just needed someone to say it. You know, I just needed you to say it. And that's what pushed me to just go through it. You normalizing it, you just listening to me was enough for me to be like, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's not that deep, dude.
Love that saying.
Well, and I think too, what I've learned is that going through these really hard things, I've noticed the pattern. I was just talking about this in therapy, actually. I've noticed the pattern of, like, actually, it wasn't therapy. I was getting my birth chart read.
Cute.
Which
Shocking.
I just got my birth chart read for the first time, and I've been studying this shit for
I feel like you should we should dedicate time to hear about it, though.
Yeah, I would love to share. I think it was so helpful for me, and it was cool to, like, have someone tell me things that it'd be like, I feel like as a therapist going to therapy.
Right.
Because there's things like you can, like, analyze your own stuff as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like, you have blind spots.
Yeah.
So I think it was so cool to have someone, like, see me in a different way.
No, I totally want to do that. I'm just going to be annoying and be like, Chloe, what the fuck is an aspect?
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get there. We'll break it down. If anyone wants that, we can talk about it. Like, but
she'll talk about
it. I don't know.
Like,
it can be polarizing. It can be taboo.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I love that.
But what we did talk about it, I realized that there was, so there's parts of my chart that reflect this, but what I have recognized this pattern is that every time I'm going through this really hard thing or this like really challenging season, I have it so much better on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so now I've recognized that pattern. So now when I'm going through hard shit, it, like, makes me excited because I'm like, oh my God,
something's coming.
Something
great is coming.
And it's like the things I've been manifesting or the things I want, they're like orbiting me. They're trying to come through, right?
That's growth, baby.
It is. It's so cool. So, but it took me a long fucking time, like almost 30 years to get there. But it's fun now. So it's like, whereas before you can kind of wallow in it or get lost in, like, just dread and
lost in the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Because so much of it is fear, because
it's all fear.
On the other side is unknown. But now I know that even though I don't know what it is specifically, I know that it's going to be something better than honestly what I can even picture or like what I can imagine.
That's interesting, because I've reflected on that too, how I feel like I almost at this stage of my life prefer the moments of life, even if they're so challenging and devastating, that just force me to make a move.
Yeah.
Because that is where the most growth comes from. And it's almost like then I can't overthink myself into a place of fear. Like if it just hits me, I'm forced to deal with it. And I think that is so much more, like so much more happens with that, like growth, healing, or just like I gain more tools, you know, because it's like life's like, fuck
that's
you.
exactly what it is. Ooh,
you know,
you're speaking Saturn language right now, like gaining more tools. That is so Saturnian. I love
like
it.
how to prepare. It's like I heard this like quote recently that was like, it's like life isn't about like trying to avoid the difficult moments, or no, it's not about trying to avoid or prevent the difficult moments. It's about gaining as much tools and preparing for like getting through that hard moment. It's about preparation. And I think that's what like doing work is. That's what connecting with people is. That's what communication is you're just getting more tools so that you can take it head on and it's not as devastating, you know? And I think that talking about things like this is a tool. It's completely a tool to just kind of hear it, reflect on it, and know that there's other people that have been through it that can help you, like that can be a support in some way, even if you don't know.
Even like whatever that support needs to be. Like maybe it's a comfort. Maybe it's like, maybe it is like seeing how someone else did it.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of ways that it can be a tool.
I'm just such a I realize as I get older, I really am such a people person. I need people around me. I want to know everything about people's experiences. I think that's why I love podcasts so much, right? Like it's a way for me to be like, well, they did it this way. And instead of like wanting to copy them as I get older, just blindly follow in their footsteps, it's more, I want to bounce off of the way I want to do things versus how they, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, because, okay, it's reminding me of this, I was listening to a musician. I can't remember who it was. Something about me wants to say it was Miley Cyrus.
Oh, I love
like
her.
Years ago on an interview.
I love her. Yeah.
It also may not have been. So I don't want to misattribute
Still
this.
love her regardless.
They were talking about how there was a period of time where they didn't want to listen to anyone else's like music or whatever because they didn't want to like have it like accidentally influence what they were writing and doing. They didn't want to accidentally copy someone else by like,
I think this is Miley. I've heard this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and maybe she was sharing the story that she heard.
Right.
But, so then like there's this period of time where like this artist didn't listen to anybody else's music and then was just trying to like create their own stuff and just write this stuff. But then they ended up having like such a writer's block, and then they worked through it in a way that they realized that no, listening to other artists is actually just really inspiring for them.
Yeah.
And that without that inspiration, they aren't able to create in the same way.
Because you don't know how to start.
Yeah. It's not that you're copying. It's like someone might give you your own, like hearing that sparks something in you.
Exactly.
It like sparks your own idea. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
It's like, you know, I would love for this to be a point where we hear like from, if other people are listening to this, just like, well, how would you take this moment on? Well, how do you feel about money? How do you feel about divorce or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
And just, I think for me, what's so liberating as I get older is knowing that I have options. There's not one path to take. There's not one like door to be pushed through. The more options I realize I have, the more freedom I feel like I have.
So true. Yeah. Cause it gives you it gives you inspiration of like a way to go through like how to proceed.
Absolutely.
I have this option, or I could do this, or, you know,
like these dumb bitches did it this way, but what if I wanted to do it this way because I don't want to be like them? I love that.
Yeah.
That's dope. And I think as we talk about more, you know, just wrapping up as we talk about more difficult things, you know, what is it going to bring up in people? Is it going to anger them? Is it going to trigger things for them? Are they going to have to be forced to reflect when they're listening to us talk about fucking nonsense? But they're like, whoa, that's so exciting to me. Like, I wish I could like have those conversations with people all the time. You fulfill that so much, but like, I'm just really excited to open that door
and build a community,
dude,
in this way.
I just want to hear everyone's fucking wild experiences and crazy perspectives or like valid perspectives. Like, can you like imagine how much that's going to do for us?
Yeah.
You know,
and
selfishly.
like it's like this symbiotic relationship.
It's a mutual. Yeah. Totally.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm really excited.
Me too.
Oh my God.
This is really exciting.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll wrap it up. But
Yeah.
I am so excited to be sharing this with you. And we just wanted to, like we said, give you just like some background of where
Who
we
we
came
are.
from, who we are.
Yeah, why we are here together, still
Why
doing
we're
this,
doing this.
why we love this, why we're so excited
Yeah.
for this, you know?
Okay.
All right, cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
we'll see you guys for the
guys.
next one.
Next week.
Okay, one last thing before you go. There is no us without you. Go like and subscribe our show on your favorite streaming service and go follow us on all socials at Let's Get Taboo. Chat with you next time.